welcome to our one of its kind panel discussion on Sehatshala. Today, we will be discussing several important and trending details about pharmacovigilance. In simpler terms, pharmacovigilance has a direct relation to drug safety and pharmaceutical products. To understand pharmacovigilance better and keep up with the latest update of the industry, we have with us today Mr. Mujibuddin Sheikh, founder and CEO, Clinozol, Mr. Vikas Goyal, Head Supply Chain Management, Fortis Delhi, Dr. Timiresh Das, co-founder, MedTel. Acting as moderator for the discussion is Mr. Prasant Mohanty, Director and CEO, India Business at Vivio. Let's move forward and start the panel discussion. I will meet you again toward the end. Till then, listen, learn and enjoy.
Once again, thank you each one of you. We have got panelists today, right from doctors from community medicine, those have in the clinical practice, to clinical trial and supply chain. I think every three of you can give three different viewpoints as far as the pharmacovigilance is concerned. And just to give you or set the ball rolling, it is very, very critical for today's in the current scenario when the entire healthcare is adapting or moving towards digitalization. Right from doctor consultation to e-pharmacy. So everybody is the human touch or the human things is going to become less and less, and people will be more into the digital, which is good. At the same time, how the pharmacovigilance can play a big role, because as all of us know that the safety of our patient is of prime importance. So that need to be kept in intact in whatever way you to do. We may improve the service, we may improve connectivity, we may improve access, but at the same time, we will not able to compromise the safety of the patient or the individual. So there actually the pharmacovigilance plays a very, very big role. Okay. So my first question to Dr. Primesh is, since you are now into digital health, how do you see or what type of control you feel that we should have as far as the pharmacovigilance is concerned when there are a lot of e-consultation or digital consultation is going to happen?
Okay, so that's a nice question, like e-consultations and how it affects pharmacovigilance if we look at it. So one good thing is, actually one positive thing is we now have a lot of digitized information about what kind of drugs are being prescribed. And looking at it on a broader, let us say population level pharmacovigilance scale, we can actually, if we digitize enough, we can actually start pulling up symptoms for further consultations, comparing them trend-wise with the drug prescription, like use, kind of see like what kind of drugs are being used and then what kind of symptoms are appearing after that. They can be correlated on an automatic population level scale. But on a more deeper individual patient level scale, which is where pharmacovigilance main importance comes in. If we look at it, okay, the prescription is now digitized and usually patients have a way of reaching back to their doctors digitally also. And most of the platforms offer some kind of chat window, some kind of interaction window to the patient also. Like I think Vivio does that, right?
Yes.
So at the same time, what can happen is just sending maybe just a slight tweak of sending a prompt to the patient, maybe 2 days after the medicine is started or 1 day after the medicine is started, to report their side effects then on the same digital platform itself can help us collect a lot of side effect based data, adverse ADR data from patients directly. Another interesting use scenario would be using a chatbot for this. Like chatbots are right now getting super common all across. So chatbots can be used to get detailed information even if we don't. Actually, what we can do is we can actually do away with the first layer of pharmacovigilance where people actually call up patients to ask their symptoms. Similarly, in trials and all, trials can be digitized, as in we can now use, so let us say, different tracking devices, different IoT medical devices to get real data without any kind of fudging, without any kind of delays. Some kind like almost real-time data can be captured, which is again transmitted. It can be automatically triaged. It can be automatically filtered out to find which are the side effects happening.
How does the in clinical trial setup? Okay, because in a digital prescription, we know that the doctors are writing and they know about what medicine. But in a clinical trial setup, how do we ensure that the pharmacovigilance is being taken care? What protocols that you follow? If you can just add on that.
Yeah, I think as rightly said, Timresh, about use of automatic bots, we are using for understanding the patient's adverse events and related kind of questions. But there are so much of advanced technologies also which we have started using it. So prior to COVID, and so there are two versions of it. So like as we said, before COVID and after COVID. So before COVID, when we used to say that there is a doctor consultation on telemedicine, people used to hesitate asking for it. But after COVID, the situation have just changed in opposite way, that people were not interested to go to a hospital unless and until it is needed. So they were ready to take a teleconsultation or use of telemedicines when meeting the physicians and meeting the healthcare professionals to use the medications and to know how medication should be taken and what purpose it is being taken. So from there, the challenges started because the clinical trials have to be conducted. There is no ifs and buts in that. So though lockdown was continued and lockdown was being implemented, clinical trial has to be continued. So we came up with so many new plannings, like how informed consent can be digitalized, how virtual trials can be conducted, how we can deliver the medicines to the patient, how can we collect the output from the patient without a patient coming to a hospital. So say for example, we are using an Apple Watch and collecting the blood pressure of the patient, and patient not necessarily need to come to our hospital. So now the digital transformation of the data is directly coming into clinical trials, and probably this is one of the most important thing. The digital transformation has given best output for quality. The amount of data which is coming is accurate. There is no 0% of manipulation. So the quality of the data is too much high, and the time which we are spending, is also has been drastically reduced. The traveling time or the documentation time, whatever reasons it may be. So the time for the documentation has reduced. And the last point is we have improved the quality of the work along with virtual clinical trials. So it may be hundreds of things. We have used blockchain technology, we have used e-source documents. We don't need a patient to write any document, and he can directly enter into his tablet, and we are directly collecting the data and we are going to analyze the data. So similarly, an example of this QR technologies, they are trying to implement a technology where there will be a QR code, and a patient scans the QR code, and directly the whole label of the drug will come out, and directly it can be used for reporting of adverse events. So we have came up with so much of planning and implementation of digitalized data, because the data which is pulling out from clinical trial and pharmacovigilance is giving so much of information. Now, for example, a patient is coming and telling that I am working for 2 hours, I'm going for a gym for 2 hours, I'm having this much calorie of food, I'm having this much medical histories, and I'm having this much drugs. So how can I utilize that data by use of artificial intelligence? We are trying to implement those kind of technologies. So definitely there is no doubt that the people who are adamant for the digital technologies have to be implemented, and we have implemented very successfully. And we have proven that we are very good at transforming the non-digital medias to digital medias. And I hope this will take a new curve in our clinical trials and pharmacovigilance also.
Thank you. I think very, very valid point which you mentioned. And more important, what is required also is that how fast you can get the data, because maybe in a non-digital or when it is happening a physical or during clinical trial, perhaps the time taken to report one adverse event, maybe it was more, because if the patient has left the clinic, it was much, he may report, he may not report. But in this case, it is little easy, which will also help. He can just chat or he can just inform his investigator that these are the side effects that I am facing. And once the data is captured, it will be much better way than you can always compile. I think that's a very valid point in terms of the digitalization discussion. Now, Dr. Timresh, from your experience, the type of the consultation which you have done, did you get any feedback, like say earlier what was happening in the industry? Once there is an adverse event, the doctors has an option to report. It's not mandatory, because if he feels that yes, this is adverse event is related to the drug, then they were reporting. Otherwise, they were not able to report. So do you think like it becomes mandatory in a digital world? It is mandatory, or still it is an optional?
See, we had a discussion with Pharmacovigilance India. So the PVPI people have clearly stated that there is a two words which is given in pharmacovigilance. One is an adverse event and one is an adverse drug reaction. So now adverse event, it may be or may not be related to drug. Irrespective of it may be related or it may not be related. So a HCP and non-HCPs have to report these cases to the sponsors, and sponsor is responsible to identify whether it is probably a case which is related or a case which is not related to a drug. So in terms of reportability, I think everything should be reported, and it one more time has HCP decisions to be taken, because if it is patient who is reporting, a non-HCP who is reporting, a consumer or a family member who is reporting, then probably he will not know that is this due to drug or not. So he will just know that there is a problem and I have to go and inform the sponsor or my doctor. So now one more time, the HCPs also are being given well trained enough. We are giving a lot of trainings, and we conducted the PVPI week also. We went what to be reported, how to report, and when to report, and where to report. What are the methods you can report by using a red card or by using a toll-free number. So up to my knowledge, I think everything should be reported, and let's put it in basket of sponsor, where he will identify whether this has been reported by any previous people, and they will see all the comorbidities and all surrounding factors, and then they will decide whether it is related. If it is related, they will go to regulatory body. If it is not related, they will stop the reporting of the adverse events or adverse drug reaction to the regulatory bodies. So I think Timresh, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, Mujib, I think that is perfectly correct. But I think what you told is very more relevant for clinical trials. I mean, drugs that are still in the experimental phase, let us say phase 2 or phase 3. But I think what Prashant was asking was about drugs already in use, like what we say post-market surveillance.
Correct.
So, in that scenario, I think anyway, as you correctly said, all adverse events should be reported. Then it is the responsibility of the manufacturer of that particular drug to take that call of whether it is related or not related, whether there is a previous history of similar reaction happening, similar event happening. That is basically what the actual role of pharmacovigilance is, to connect those dots and find out whether a particular event is related to a drug or not. Then once it is related, we go through the causality causes, and then find out whether it is plausible. It has to have a temporal association. It has to have a clear cut either earlier reference has to be there, or it might be just a new event, a new side effect that has to be tracked for X days after, or we keep on adding it to the basket where we keep on tracking those particular events. So, and one thing I would like to say here, that how digital technology can help us improve this process is again the same point where the patient basically stays connected to the doctor. That is one. Another thing is, since we have the drugs already in a digitized form, the names of the drugs in the prescription already in a digitized form, we can maybe even ask the patient about some specific symptoms that we want to check for. So this is again something, let us say a particular pharma company detects that drug X has a new adverse event coming, then they can simply push whoever has taken drug X, they can simply push a questionnaire to everybody. So this improves the scale of data collection at such a level that the possibilities are many. And on the same note, what I'd like to ask Mr. Vikas here is, as a hospital, do you focus on collecting this kind of data as a hospital, or again is it left to the patient to come and self-report? Because PVPI per se, I think still we don't have any mandate or any compulsory reporting.
I think PVPI has AMCs which they have developed. Not all hospitals are AMCs. They have selected some hospitals where the collection of adverse events is happening with the AMCs, but not every hospital is AMC. I think most of places they have selected some hospitals as AMCs.
Yeah, but that is more like kind of a surveillance site.
Yes.
That they have created, like sentinel sites they have created for particular things. No, but my question is whether a hospital also takes certain initiative to do this.
Correct. So we can get Vikas' view whether I think your question is whether the hospital is having a separate department. Do they collect the data? Do they anyway look at the AD or the AE reported by patients, or it is only the responsibility of the, though it is only the responsibility of the manufacturers and the marketeer, the person who has got the marketing license to report, but what is the role of the hospitals? I think that's the question Timresh wants.
So if we see from the IPC point of view, Indian Pharmacovigilance Commission, so in 2010 they have started this PVPVI program, and in 2015 MVPVI program, that is Material Vigilance Program of India and Pharmacovigilance Program of India. So now as per the NABH 5th standard, so every hospital which is going for the NABH accreditation, they have to register with the IPC for the PVPVI as well as for the MVPI program. And if we see like a Fortis and the big chain of corporate hospitals, so they have a clinical pharmacological department in each and every hospital who look after the pharmacovigilance program for all the inpatients as well as the maximum possible for the outpatient department. So we have a team of clinical pharmacology in our hospitals who look after the patient wards, ICUs, etc., and to do all the pharmacovigilance activities like to detect, to determine, to identify, to report, to collect, and to do all the evidence, including the physicians and clinicians interactions, seeing the files of each and every patient, what have prescribed, what are the allergic reactions, what are the food, what are the other activities they have done, what are the cross consultations done in the hospitals, and then they determine, they use the PVPI form which they have provided to report such events, and every hospital of Fortis is doing this program over there. So our first hospital in Fortis Mohali is registered with, it's a AMC center for Fortis to report the PVPI program to the IPC. So in Fortis, we have a chain of hospitals. So we provide about all these different hospitals to Fortis Mohali. They collect this information and submit it to the PVPI.
I think that's a very good step. I think which Fortis you have started with a group of hospitals. If that is being taken care by the corporate hospitals, because the corporate hospitals actually have the technology as well as the resource, and from there that data can populate down to the other smaller hospitals. So that will actually be a big help to the. Now to add on what I was thinking, like which we have perhaps missed, which I think during this because of the digitalization, even it will also help the doctors. Like while he is prescribing a product, if there had been any reported drug-drug interaction, let's say example, he's writing Crocin, and along with Crocin, he's writing some another drug, let's say a PPI. And if there have been any drug-drug interaction reported, then in the digitalized world, there can be a pop-up. So it gives an early indicator from the patient safety point of view that these two drugs cannot be prescribed together, which is not possible when it is done on a physical world. It can be a very good input from the patient's point of view as well as from the doctor's point of view. There, because all the data is collected, we all know that what has happened, which are there in the public domain in terms of the safety of those drugs which are reported or the drug-drug interaction. That is one point which you can think of, and maybe this can be one add-on point for all the teleconsultation. Now, in clinical trial, I know that it is mandatory for the sponsor. Is there a responsibility of the investigator also, or it's only the sponsor responsibility to report the AE or the ADL?
No, I think investigator is also responsible for reporting an AE and ADL. Okay. So and it comes more in clear picture when it comes as SAEs, and there is a particular timeline which has to be reported from investigator to sponsor or investigator to IRB. So for example, if it is a SAE, it has to be reported from investigator to sponsor within 24 hours. So we used a technology which is called as email alerts, where if in a system you are selecting as an adverse event, which is a serious reaction, automatically an alert will trigger from an investigator to a sponsor saying that in that particular site, a particular patient has got an adverse event, and there is no need of investigator to go and separately write a letter or a call a person or write a fax. Okay. And even investigator also have to report it to IRBs regarding the adverse events which is happening. And in turn, sponsor will collect all the adverse reactions. If it is very serious reactions, immediately it has to be reported. If it is non-serious and serious, both we have to report it in aggregate reports also.
And how about the ethics committee? Is there a timeline to report to the ethics committee?
So I think GCP says that within 7 days it has to be reported to ethics committee, and if there is more problems happening with the adverse events, investigator has every right to prematurely terminate the clinical trial. Even ethics committee has rights to terminate the trial. Even sponsor has the rights to terminate the trial. So only 3 parties will be working, exceptionally investigator, IRBs, and sponsors. So these 3 parties will be responsible for overall safety of the drug.
So my last question to each one of you, maybe you can just give your concluding remark. How do you think in your field, like we have one from e-health, one we have from clinical trial, Mujibur, then Vikas is from the hospital supply chain and all those things. How do you think that particularly with a robust pharmacovigilance system can actually be, we know that it is definitely required for the benefit of the patients. So do you need, is that our current system is enough, or we need to still work upon it so that end of the day there should not be any, or we can avoid any AC. We may not avoid AE or ADR, but maybe definitely AC can be avoided out of this. Seriously, AC can be avoided. So that Timur, you can start, then we can go to Mujibur and Vikas.
Okay.
Just to give your concluding remarks.
Okay, so coming to this point of whether what we have is enough is like currently, as far as my knowledge goes, we don't have a system at all for collecting the data properly, A or AR or whatever we want to call it. No adverse event reporting structure is there per se. Most patients don't know whether it's an adverse event to a drug. They don't know what to do. They simply go back to their doctor. The doctor probably prescribes another medicine or changes their medicine, and there is absolutely no reporting of any kind happening. Even like pre-COVID, post-COVID, it doesn't matter. So where this becomes important is, okay, there has to be certain kind of responsibility, yes, but since we don't have a mandate, we don't have a compulsory reporting of any kind, there is no reporting happening. So for that to be strengthened, first and foremost, I'll say the patient has to be made aware. There has to be a lot of awareness building in the patient that needs to be done, that okay, if these things happen, then you should report, you should call your doctor, or you can report in a particular toll-free number. There is a toll-free number. There is even a number to send a SMS. There is a website where patients can go and report. I think all manufacturers have got a particular number or a website where people can go and report, where me as a customer, me as a end user of that drug, I can go and report. But then first people have to be aware of that existing, that is not there. Then secondly, doctors have to be made aware a lot, because a lot of doctors do see side effects, AEs or ARs and ADRs, but they don't report it per se, because there is no incentive. It involves a lot of paperwork, it involves a lot of trouble for that doctor to do it. So unless an institutional level we do it, or maybe bring in some kind of a compulsory reporting framework for a particular set of adverse events or a particular set of drugs, then it can be done. Secondly, I think, there is a long way to go in terms of pharmacovigilance in India. So hopefully digitization will start helping. Like one thing, as Prashant rightly mentioned, doctors can be showed pop-ups of possible drug-drug interactions, possible serious side events that might, side effects or serious adverse events that might happen that are already related to a particular drug. Those kind of things can be shown up. Secondly, patients can be sent repeated reminders of how to report. Awareness building has to be done. And as Vikas correctly said, like Fortis or any chain of hospitals, they're already doing it. Maybe they also need to do it in a more wider way, because inpatients, yes, everything is tracked. Inpatient reactions are tracked. Inpatient reporting is done. But outpatients, which is where the bulk of people are, that is kind of still hazy. Even if we try, Vikas, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel what percentage of outpatients would possibly be reporting back? 50%, or is it less or more? Without any active.
So for the outpatient is right now the less than 5%.
Oh, less than 5%. So
Yes.
it's like less than 5% of outpatients are actually reporting anything. That too, probably they will be reporting in a follow-up consultation rather than
Yes.
actively reporting back with an adverse event. It's just that they came back, they anyway had to come back. Doctor, I had this problem. And then the doctor has to immediately recognize, okay, this might be related to this drug, and then report back, report further upstream.
Which will be
Absolutely.
really difficult to correlate. Is it because of the drug or because of something else or something? So that's
No,
another big.
that is an entirely different part. But first, the adverse event has to come into the hospital
Correct.
or the doctor
Yeah.
that I have this problem, and for that the patient has to know that I have to tell the doctor or the hospital in such events. I think what I can think of, this is it, and over to others, Vikash and Mujib.
So, sir, basically from the hospital point of view, we look forward this program like this program help us to enhance the patient safety and prevents the costly safety related withdrawals. Secondly, we will look forward enables positive contribution to the public health and then provide better decision support for the industries and the regulators. But right now, if we see in the Fortis, so this is in a very nascent stage, or even in outside in Fortis, it's a very nascent stage. So we feel there is a lack of awareness in the healthcare professionals as well as in the patients also, how to report, when to report, what is the way to reporting, and what is the benefit for the same. So we have to enhance the awareness across the industries, across the healthcare professionals and the patients who are the actually end users. Second, there should be system and process to be in place, because right now the somewhere the process is manually or this is a person dependent, not a system dependent over there. Third, there should be a measurable output and for the reporting purpose. So sometimes some doctors are reporting, some patients are reporting, some taking lightly. Okay, this is a side effect. हो सकता है मैंने कोई गलती कर दी हो. So we have to have a standard way of reporting, and we have to capture each and every incident, whether it's to be due to the drug or due to the other food habit or due to the patient's non-following the prescription guidelines to take this medicine, that has to be evaluated in details. Secondly, and last, there should be analysis and comparison with the Fortis hospitals for the one brand, for the other hospitals with a similar brand, because right now the every manufacturers are putting their barcoding system, etc. So they can immediately identify which batch of drug is going to which state, which hospitals, and we have to track on that basis the similar effect or similar result or similar problems occurring in other hospitals who have distributed the same batch of the drug over there. Secondly, we have to have a publications and the results. So every hospitals or every body like IPC or the individual hospitals or the group hospitals have to publish these reports so that it becomes in a public domain and the people and the hospital and healthcare can use this report for the future references. That's it, sir, from my side.
Yeah. So, Mujib, from your side, in terms of...
I think I would accept from both the points, Timresh and Vikas. The valid points which were being discussed is the lack of time from the physicians, point number one, and the point number two, Vikas has rightly said, lack of awareness and the patients and as well as healthcare professionals, both are have to be given more training and more awareness and where to report, what to report. So I think there are some considerations and mandating of some aspects wherein it can bring more new trends and we can implement new technologies to reduce the amount of time and to improve the number of cases and to take the healthcare into the next level.
Okay, thank you. So to conclude, I think my point is, yes, we are really moved a long way as far as pharmacovigilance is concerned. I can talk about from my experience how things were being reported in a physical paper when we were in the pharma company 20 years back. Now things have moved fast, and most of the companies, it's not only the multinational company, even big Indian large companies have set up their own pharmacovigilance department. There is a dedicated toll-free number. All the time the salespeople keep communicating to the doctors, please report if any of the patient is coming across any side effects or adverse drug reaction. Every manufacturer is taking steps to train their salespeople so that they are aware of or the difference between AE, ADR and SAE. So that's a welcome move by the manufacturers. And of course, as everyone spoke about, each one of us has to play a big role in terms of creating awareness, both at the consumer, that is at the patient level, as well as at the physician's level. So if all of us try and put together, the regulatory department has really taken it very seriously as far as this pharmacovigilance is concerned. We have moved a long way as compared to the Western world, and this is all happening for the good, for the benefit of the large, like which Vikas was mentioning, in the interest of public health. Every side effect to be reported should be available in the public domain, so that in the digital or in the internet world, each one of us should know that whenever I'm taking some medicines, it's not only that what I will have, but I should know what type of side effects I can come across and where do I report. Because if I report, perhaps my next patient or the next patient, we may not have that. So that's a precursor for the next patient. So therefore, it is very critical for all of us to know. Like in clinical research, you have no other way. It's mandatory as per the protocol, you have to report. But we are more talking about the OPD, because OPD really a lot of work to be done. And there, I think digital will play a very big role in terms of speed up the things as well as scale it up. So with this, we come to an end, and thank you very much for each one of you for your valuable time and the inputs which you have given. And let's see that how we are matching as far the Western world is concerned in terms of how pharmacovigilance reporting is concerned.
We hope you enjoyed the session and got to learn and grasp significant inputs about pharmacovigilance. Thank you for joining in. See you soon with another one of our Expert Speak session at Sehat Shala.